think of it like this. This is like a kind of a good slide because margin is kind of confusing or can be confusing, and there's a lot of different pieces, and it's not like a simple 1 + 1 = 2 calculation. It's very involved. Because as the price comes down, your overall account value comes down, but the margin requirement comes down, but not as fast. So I know that sounds super confusing. That's what I'm talking about. It's not this easy static formula, but if you think of it as space left in a glass, right? So here's my glass of water, right? So it's about halfway full, right? If your glass is all the way empty, that means you have lots of cushion. You're not using margin, right? If your glass is halfway full, you have like half cushion. As your stocks come down, or if they start to come down in price, your think of it like this. Your account will go from halfway full to like 3/4 of the way full because your cushion is shrinking, right? And then what happens if you don't have enough money in your account and you're taking on too many positions, if your account starts to like overflow, think of a glass overflowing with water, it means you don't have any cushion left. That's what creates a margin call. Now, what is a margin call? I mean, probably some of you heard of a margin call, right? But basically, that just means that you don't have enough money in your account to support the positions that you have. And you have one of two options in the case of a margin call. You either have to put more money in or you have to liquidate something, and typically if your stocks are coming down, that means if you liquidate something, you're probably going to take a loss on that. And if you do that, it becomes a realized loss. Now, remember, realized losses like actually hit your pocket, right? So we want to try to avoid taking realized losses as much as possible. Now, sometimes people will ask, well, how does that work if I want to put more money in? Do I have to have money right away? Does the broker like ring me up and tell me? Do they give me a certain period of time? I mean, there's no real exact figure. I mean, typically, like the rule of thumb, like Schwab, I think typically gives you 2 days. However, there's always a caveat. They have the permission ability to just liquidate your trade as soon as you become you enter a margin call territory, right? So they say that they call you and you have 2 days, but that's not necessarily correct. It depends on, if the margin's going down. Here's the thing. A brokerage firm never wants to be in a position where you have to owe them money, right? They don't want to have to collect on customers. So they want to make sure you have enough money in your account. So they will typically be able to break your trade right then, free up your cash. That way it avoids you getting more in the hole, right? If that sounds like it makes sense. Now, like I said, an empty glass, if you're not using margin, that means you have 100% cushion. You will never be forced to liquidate a trade. Here's what I mean by that. Let's go back to MicroStrategy as an example. Let's say you sell a $300 put in MicroStrategy, right? A $300 put means that if you don't use margin, that means you have to have $30,000 in your account, right? That just means if you're not using margin, if you have an account that's $30,000 and you sell a put, a $300 put on MicroStrategy, no matter where that stock goes, you will never encounter a margin call because you already have the money up, right? So that's what that means. So that's why, there's definitely lower risk when you're not using margin because then you're never going to be forced to have to liquidate a trade. And that's the only time that you lose money is if you have to buy something back or sell shares and make less than what you got for it, or take in less than what you paid for something. That's the only time that you lock in a loss.